Obviously, we call it Bedlam week, right? So everybody's excited. Oklahoma has a really good basketball team. Obviously, they're 9-0, longest win streak in the country. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is our first opponent that we face that is ranked. So, heck of an opportunity for our program and for our student athletes.
You talked a little bit about this going into the year, but just kind of what did it mean to get this game on the schedule?
Well, the game was already scheduled before I got here, so let's be clear about that. But no, I mean, I believe in the rivalries. You know, I mean, I've been fortunate to be at Indiana, Purdue, at Creighton, Marquette. You know, those are fun games, and they're good for college basketball. Porter and I have already talked about next year, and we're hoping to continue it. So I think it's good for our state. It's good for basketball.
I know the schedule wasn't exactly the way you might have laid it out, but I just talked to the players. The road trips interspersed by heavy doses of practice, asked them how much they felt they'd gotten better as a team. They were very affirmative on that. Now that you've been through this kind of period here, how do you feel about the development stage?
Well, they're probably telling you what you want to hear, to be very honest with you.
Okay.
They did not want to practice.
That's why I asked you.
They didn't want to practice that much. And
I'm sure.
I think that we have gotten better, but again, at Seton Hall, you play great in the first half. You play just so-so for the first 14, 15, 16 minutes of the second half, and then you allow them to score more points in the last 3:52 than you do the entire 16 minutes. We've already had this problem. We've already had this discussion before. We've done this. We've seen this, and we haven't fixed it. So therein lies the problem.
During that Seton Hall game, the broadcast said you've already used 58 different lineup combinations. I'm just curious, hearing that, how much of that do you think is still trying to figure out your rotation versus just feeling like you do have a lot of guys that are capable of playing for you right now?
Yeah, I think that's more just a testament to our roster. You know, I think that we've got a lot of good players, but I don't know that there's a lot of variance between the players. Yeah. And when you're this early into the season and you're just now, you're trying to figure stuff out, and you've had games where you've had foul trouble and those sorts of things, you're just really trying to find your way. Yeah. And every team in America still at this point of the year is still trying to find their way. So we're no different than them, but I didn't realize this. I don't listen to the TV broadcast, but that's a lot of lineups,
yeah.
And we'll continue to do it all year. It's, you got to go with the game and see who's playing the best, and then those guys deserve, for that night, they deserve the most minutes.
I know he's young, but is this the best point guard, maybe the most talented point guard you've seen coming up Saturday?
Jeremiah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fear's a good player. He's a really good player. Most talented point guard we've seen this year, I'd have to think through. He's close. Yeah, he's close. I mean, I would think that, depending upon his work ethic and those sorts of things, I think he'll be a heck of a player for them. They got a good find there in the summer with him.
To this point in the season, or even if it's back into preseason, what has Bryce meant as just kind of a steady force and veteran leadership, those type of things?
Yeah, he's been great. Other than at Seton Hall, right? Seton Hall the other night, he didn't have such a good game. I felt bad for him, but he just, he didn't really impact the game much for us other than fouling. But just as an overall, I mean, Bryce has been fantastic. We've talked about it a lot. He's a steadying force. He knows when and where to pick his battles in terms of trying to go score the basketball. He's gotten better defensively, and I need him to continue to evolve as a leader, because he has an opportunity to be a great one.
He had never played in a system like yours. I assume you've watched some film. Did you know if he could fit into what you wanted?
I mean, he's a good basketball player. The way I look at it, the way we play is, if you're a good basketball player, you're going to be fine. Because ultimately, we don't run a million set plays. We don't call a set every single time down the floor. So if you know how to play basketball, we're going to put you in positions to be successful. And I knew that he's a good player, so I never really had any doubts there. Now, with that being said, Defensively, I've been on him quite a bit throughout the year to get better there, and I think that he's done that. I think he's done that.
From a rivalry standpoint, do you like your guys to lean into the importance of that a little bit, or do you prefer them to kind of maybe just treat it like a normal week?
No, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both, right? You can't ever ignore the fact that this is, a big rivalry within your state, and Sooners don't like Cowboys, and vice versa. So you don't ever ignore it. But does it define whether we win the Big 12 or we go to the NCAA tournament? No, it does not. Now, with that being said, we talk, I'm honest with them about like net rankings and RPI and those sorts of things. Winning this game, that'll help us in March. But then you've still got to go win in the Big 12 and put yourself in a position to need or to have the help there for you in March as well.
Do you think that, to sort of be transparent on, like, when you talk about net rankings and stuff like that, do you think that helps guys focus if you just sort of lay it out, or?
You know what? I to be very frank with you, I don't know that they really care. And I don't mean that they don't care. I don't know that it really means a whole lot to them, right? They think singularly, hey, let's go beat Oklahoma. Hey, let's go beat Tarleton. Let's go beat Oral Roberts. I guess when I was 18 to 22 years old, it would be hard for me to see what's going to happen in March. But we try to make sure they understand the levity of the situation.
I assume you're okay with that, them having a singular mindset.
Sure, yeah. But it's my job also to prepare them a little bit for life, and you got to understand the long-term ramifications of games, right? And when you get into the business world or whatever you do after college, you got to understand that, hey man, what I do on August 13th is going to ultimately affect November 25th, right? And so if I don't prepare them for that, or we don't prepare them for that, I should say, then we're probably not we're not doing what we need to do. That's not what they're here for, is just to win each game.
Your win Sunday clinched the challenge between the two conferences and the Big 12, Big East. Have you looked up, kind of like the long range, looked up to see what's going on around the conference, or are you that's still way ahead and you're not really concerned?
Yeah, I'm not really concerned with what those other guys are doing. I mean, obviously we've got a great camaraderie, and on Sunday morning there's texts coming in saying, hey, like, don't screw this up, So we're all on the same page that the Big 12 needs to win that thing. But no, like, do we have a leaderboard in terms of records in our locker room? Yeah. Did I look today for the first time and see Arizona at the bottom? I was like, holy crap, what happened to them? Well, they played one of the top 10 hardest schedules in the country, probably. So you have to take all that with a grain of salt. We get measured in the Big 12. We just do. But let's not lose sight of the fact that this is Oklahoma on Saturday, and it's a big game for our university and our state.
So you've got a group text with all of the other coaches? Or?
Yeah. The entire Big 12 head coaches have a group text.
What are the conversations like in there?
I mean, anything from let's win the Big 12 Big East Challenge to I don't know. Hey, did you guys get the email from the conference office talking about the officiating? It's more informative. But with that being said, I mean, it's a good group of guys. Everybody, they're going to reach out to you on your birthday and those sorts of things. So,
did you get added to it, or did it get created? Does it get created anew every year? I guess?
They get created new every year.
Okay.
Yeah, John Williams is kind of the basketball liaison for the Big 12, and he does it. And he's fantastic at keeping everybody involved and together and those sorts of things.
Whenever Scott asked you about kind of style of play with Bryce, it seems like Arturo maybe fits to what you guys do incredibly well with how he plays defense and stuff like that. Like, kind of how quick did it take for you to turn on the film and be like, hey, we really need that guy?
Well, I played against him last year twice, and I've known Arturo since he was a little guy at Putnam Science, which is a prep school in Connecticut. I knew that when I got the job and started to look into the roster, I knew that I needed defense, speed, quickness, toughness, and he checked all those boxes. So I was very familiar with him, and we signed him fairly quickly.
And then Jamiron, one of the few young guards that you have on the team, it seems like he's kind of finding his role maybe a little bit more lately. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know what his role is yet. And that's what I tell him all the time. I tell all of them that. Like, half of the fans haven't seen Jamiron Keller. They haven't seen Devo Davis, like what they're really capable of doing. Like, I think we've seen Bryce. At times we see Chi-Chi, Abu, you know, all those guys. But I'm just saying, there's a lot left out on the table. Like, Jamiron Keller shoots a heck of a three-point percentage in practice and live play, in competitive play. He went into that game 1 of 12, somewhere right in there. It's going to level out because he cares about basketball and he works really hard. He's not going to shoot 15% for the rest of the year. It's not going to happen. So it was just a matter of getting him repetition and getting him confidence and getting him ready to shoot the basketball with confidence. And he did it on Saturday or on Sunday.
Speaking of 3-point percentages, do you guys treat Abu like a no-hitter is happening? Or
I need to actually bring Abu next time, Brian, for media, so you guys can ask him that. He keeps telling me I should be running plays for him to shoot threes, and I keep telling him, "We'll see, big fella."
Arturo and Bryce really liked Marshall's question about had they seen a block and charge on the same play. Had you seen that before?
What do you mean?
Block and charge call on the same play at Seton Hall?
Bryce's first, they called it a
Bryce's
block
first.
and a charge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No, it was a
block and
block.
charge. Yeah.
It wasn't a charge, it was a block.
They called it a charge,
I
too.
understand.
Oh,
And
okay,
then the
okay.
other official came in,
Mhm.
and those guys probably didn't know what happened. The other official came in and was trying to help him and overrule him of some sorts. And
You've seen that. You've seen
of course,
officials do that.
but anytime that you have, let me see how to say this nicely. Anytime you have two officials who are very good officials, and one sees something different than the other, and they can't seem to agree, it has to be a double foul. That's the rule. Now, I'm not a huge fan of that rule, but that's the rule, so that's what happened.
Do you think if that got replayed, you'd probably have 9 replay timeouts a game? Is that something that
yeah.
you want to see
No,
implemented?
No. We
Okay.
got. I mean, guys, we got to get the game moving.
Yeah.
Like, right? I mean, if they called it a block, they called it a block. They called it a charge, they called it a charge. Let's move on. You know, and I'm all for getting things right, but sometimes you're going to have different views and different angles, and you're certainly going to have different opinions on officiating.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. It all evens out, and that's what I tell our guys all the time because they complain about the officiating in practice till no end. I tell them all the time, move on, go to the next play.
Yeah, I know you want to get it right. I was watching the end of the Arkansas-Michigan game, and it just drags
Right.
out. And I mean, even the commentators are saying, "You just got to play the game." I mean, we did it for 70 years the other way. I mean,
I think there's a happy medium, but yes, not at 2 minutes into the game. We don't need to go to the monitor to review block charges.
With so much depth, do you sort of, when you're talking to guys, do you sort of tell them it's sort of on them to kind of carve out a role for this team? Or is that, you sort of look at it as like, as a coaching staff, y'all will, if they show you enough, you'll sort of find a place for them?
No. I mean, we talk about there's ebbs and flows to games. There's ebbs and flows to seasons, right? If you'll do your best every single day and you'll work your tail off, you're going to find your way on the floor. I mean, we didn't give these guys scholarships for charity, right? They're good basketball players. So they just need to keep their head down and keep working. And it's all going to work out. It always does.